Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Leading Mindset. I'm Ali Payani. Here we're going to discuss the entrepreneurial challenges, journeys, and today we have Kevin Libby, founder and CEO of PH2 Nutrition. Hello, Kevin.
Yeah, Lee, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Sure. Glad you could join. Let's just start with the PH2 Nutrition. Tell us more about it.
I was thinking about before we even started about how, since this is an entrepreneurial, instead of like featuring what it is I do is as far as my business about being in business alone. Um, a lot of practitioners like myself that are in the wellness space don't really think about, that this is a business that has to run, it has to generate revenue and profit so you can help more
Mm-hmm.
people. Mine was a kind of I don't want to say I fell into it. I was at a prestigious nutritional firm in Santa Monica, California, called PFC Nutrition, and I had ideas on things I wanted to grow. I was the young guy in the organization, and I wanted to do more things, and that was kind of out of bounds for that
Mm-hmm.
organization. So I went and hung out my own shingle and started PH2 Nutrition. We're about to have the 5-year anniversary here in a couple weeks.
All right. That's great.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? I'm gonna ask some entrepreneurial questions and also some probably want to have some nutrition related questions for the audience. For the entrepreneurial, what do you think were those skills or that you have or other entrepreneurs should have, to run that business?
Um, the skill. I mean, a skill set obviously is like a learned. Um, there's talent, right, and then there's skill. You
Mm,
have to learn to delegate as an entrepreneur and build your team and trust people around you that share your same vision. I remember watching Elon Musk, and I'm really not into watching those inspirational things of that nature at all. Or was it Elon Musk? Regardless who it was, they said more. I think it might have been for Apple, Steve Jobs. The most important was a lot of people can do the job, but do they gel with you and do they share the same mindset, same vision? If they don't, you're constantly focused on other things and not focused on moving forward with your team. So, and that's something I still want to struggle with today is finding the people. Um, I'm very open, very transparent, and I
mm-hmm.
expect my team to be open and transparent, good communication. I'm still struggling with finding the right people.
Talent.
Yeah, yeah, because growth, it's like from Tommy Boy. If you're not growing, you're dying, and there's some truth to that. You have to keep growing, or at least to keep evolving the business based on the needs of the market.
Yeah, that's what I'm keep hearing from every industries and business owners that they all struggling with the hiring, finding the talent, right talent.
Mhm.
Especially I think it got worse after the pandemic.
Yeah, I haven't hired
Uh,
anybody. Yeah.
yeah. What do you think is preparing you as being a leader in your industry? Especially in your industry is really tough.
Uh, yeah, I don't look at it as like I've always been, a leader in athletics and academics. Um, that was just like, the way I was raised and the organizations I was involved in. I was just talking about this the other day when we bought our Christmas tree down the street.
Mm,
There was the Boy Scout lot, so I was a Boy Scout. The motto was always be prepared. Um, I always got the captain award for when I wrestled and played baseball and played football because I was coachable. I
mm-hmm,
listened to the people that were in and around the sport or the game for a very long time and learned from them instead of like butting heads like why am I doing it this way, just listen to it like Mr. Miyagi, just do what he tells you to do, and then afterwards if you find something different or there's a better way, then you can present your case. But in order to be a leader you have to be a follower first, and I was fortunate to have really good mentors. I've said this many times. You have mentors that teach you what to do. You also have a lot of
mm-hmm.
teachers that teach you what not to do. And you learn, and then you build your own creative soup, creative stew, so to speak. It's my formula. Just being unique in your approach, and being sincere and genuine. That's, I mean, this sounds like Tony Robbins type stuff, but it's true. Just be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else.
Yeah. You had mentors from the beginning when you started.
In nutrition or in just in general?
In general, in both actually.
Yeah, I mean, I lost my father at a very young age, so I always kind of clinged on to, if I was involved in sports, like I was really in like the coach's back pocket, looking for a male uh, father figure, so to speak. And that's just my nature. I gravitate towards that type of energy. So yeah, I mean, and go with your gut, like who's teaching you the right thing, who's teaching the wrong thing, and like for instance, one of my wrestling coaches, I admired him as a father, not just a wrestling coach.
Mm-hmm.
He had 6 kids. I always said, "Hey, coach, how come you have so many kids?" He goes, "Because I can't keep my hands off my wife." I thought that was really a cool thing for him to say. Like he actually loved his wife. He loved us as his wrestlers and his team. And so you become a disciple. Remember, there's discipline. This is Gabriel Mate, where he said, you don't want to punish somebody. You want them to become your disciple. Well,
Right.
they'll follow you anywhere as long as you gain their trust. And I was just fortunate enough to be in the right position, the right time. You know, what do they say? What is luck? Where
Right.
preparation meets timing.
Time,
Is
timing,
it?
timing.
Well, there you
Should
go.
be something around that. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're like, I seem to be lucky in a lot of instances, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it. I mean, I've always prepared myself. I question everything, and is there a better way, a more efficient way? I don't know. That doesn't sound right. Let me test it myself. I don't just take, I don't take things like as law, So, and it served me very, very well.
But you wanted to have like more challenges along the way.
Yeah, challenges are how you grow. I know this sounds cliche, like there is no losses, there's only lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So I've hired wrong people, and it bit me in the behind, and it was expensive, painful lessons to learn. Sometimes those are the best lessons, are the harshest ones. But
Yeah.
you learn and you grow, and you remember you're constantly learning of what not to do. And if you keep repeating those same mistakes, obviously there's something wrong in your formula. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
turn things around. But I encourage. I like what do you call it, competition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to, like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, I want to. If like nobody's ever done that before, good. That means I'll be the first to do it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your strategies when you started to promote the business? Any marketing or any like referral?
Yeah,
What
I
did you
mean,
do to generate those leads or revenue?
okay, so yeah, from day one, I was terrified, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are people going to follow me? My number one is always a referral, because that's like, you've already gained the trust. Somebody else trusts, says this guy's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I went the traditional marketing route, which really got some brand awareness. I got my logo. I developed a website. How do people find you? I kind of went in blind. I was fortunate, because I was at the prestigious firm, where I got approached by BuzzFeed, and they said, "Do you want to do these videos where we use the Kardashian name and Chris Pratt, because we worked with the Kardashians and the Marvel characters at PH2 Nutrition." So I was fortunate to where I was able to use celebrity names and they went viral. I think to date they're at like 23 million views. So that made marketing very easy. So, but it did show me, like, okay, the celebrity marketing is still very, very, very big. People might say
Mm-hmm.
it's dead and it's more like influencers like TikTok and Instagram and whatnot. I'll argue that because
Yeah.
to this day, obviously there's what do they call it? Ad fatigue. You can't
Mm-hmm.
just keep running the same ad over and over again. Well, I didn't run any ads. I did a 30-day challenge with them for BuzzFeed, and that was my program. I wasn't doing any gimmicks, any tricks, and people got to see what I do here. So what I do here is very valuable. Now getting it out to everybody else, I mean, it's tricky. You need to get with professionals and people that know what they're doing. Um, I saw something Mark Cuban said the other day. He's like, okay, how do you get people to see your business? You either buy it or PR. I was fortunate with the PR.
PR.
Yeah. So I mean, that to me, yeah, I've been offered 2 TV shows. COVID killed one of those. Well, not
And
killed, but
what,
it's
the
not
one on
obviously not on TV.
Netflix?
What's that?
The one on Netflix?
Yeah, on Netflix. I can't say the name, otherwise somebody
I
might
know.
steal it. But yeah, I was offered to do to make a new show, a transformation type show, but very niche and great idea by the producers, good friend. They produced Joker, um, Tenant, Ghostbusters. They're the biggest of the big, and they just said, Kevin, you've done so much for us. We'd like to do something for you. Here's a TV show. I'm like, but obviously that didn't
Yeah, the
come to
COVID.
fruition yet. Um,
So so
I
how
was like,
co
I looked at that as a vehicle, like, wow, this would be. It wasn't so much like I'm going to be a star, it was more like, well, this would be awesome, great, get my name out there, and let's start branching out and building, building from there.
Mhm. How COVID impacted your business?
Oh, it was. Well, I'm one of those businesses. I can do, the video. With some of the secret sauce and the magic comes in my lab. Being in person, there's a different experience. But pre-COVID, 30% of my business was online anyway. I work with people in 63 countries, I believe now, around the world. Or I've worked with people in 63 countries. I took a big hit. I took like a 1/3 revenue hit. I don't mind
Mm,
sharing that. And across the board, I think a lot of people have in this market. Um, I laid at home. I stayed at home for like 2 weeks. My girlfriend, we just found out she was pregnant. She is in production. She was at Warner Brothers Studios doing a commercial, a Kelly Clarkson commercial. And they
mhm.
sent everybody home because, the lockdowns came in March 11th or whatever. I stayed at home for like 2 weeks. And one day I just threw my hands down and said, I'm going to the office. I sent out my email blast from my CRM, said, I'm still open, and people still needed their service. So I went from like 30% online to like 70% online. So I have this huge 1,800 square foot office, um, for Zoom. You know, you're familiar with my office. There's an IV nutrition, or sorry, IV company that I rented an office. It was supposed to be
Yeah.
cross marketing, right? We're in the same space. They strictly went to COVID testing, like they do rapid testing and whatnot. So they eliminated their IVs, which wasn't good for my business, but at the same time, it still paid the rent.
Hmm. But it's still like going, like the COVID testing. They do
Yeah,
COVID
because
testing
they
there.
have contracts for TV shows and movie houses, and they do
Mm,
concierge testing as well. But I mean,
right.
for a while they were, business. If you look at it from a business standpoint, they were doing extremely well.
Mhm. What is your typical day? I mean, the routines.
I mean, if I see, I'm the practitioner, so a
Mm,
typical day is seeing clients all day long, measuring their composition, designing their food programs, supplementation protocols, doing testing. If it's outside my purview, referring them out to different people. I'm also doing right now, I also consult for app development in the Middle East. So I'm constantly doing research, reviewing their work for the new app that is due out next year. Well,
hmm.
it's due out, yeah, it's due out in first, second quarter 2022 in Singapore and Dubai, and then they're going to roll it out in the United States end of next year. So there's a lot of just sitting here breaking out the old books, doing my online research, and compiling data to review for the team. But I mean,
Mm,
basically just one-on-one client consultation. But I do all my own ordering of supplies, inventory, marketing. Keeping up relations with. Today I have a meeting with the trainer. Last week I was meeting with the co-chair of the U.S. Olympic weightlifting team. It's always this afternoon I'm going to my doctor friend's office to go see where I'm branching out to another office in Pasadena. I'm going to see the how the construction is going and stuff like that. So it always busy.
yeah. Well, to this point, following this question, I have also get a lot about the family life and like the personal life versus the business life.
Yeah.
So now you're describing your day. So how
Yeah.
do you balance that? Or I usually ask if even if you believe that it should be even balanced all the time, or you try to be.
Well, it's unfortunate to be successful and define success like financially successful in a business where, what they say in the first 3 to 5 years, most businesses fail. Obviously, fail, I mean they, close the doors. Um,
80%. Yeah.
80%, yeah. I wasn't a family man until right when the pandemic hit. I was a single guy, much easier to work 12 to 14-hour days when you don't have anybody to, report to. I want to say. When we had our first child 13 and a half months ago, baby Dane, and we've got another one too in April. Now I can't wait to get home. But yeah, all the stuff that I used to stay up late, the entrepreneur, what do they say? We're the only people that trade out a 40-hour work week for a 60-hour work week for less money. It's like, it's true. But
Yeah.
but there's something to be said about your own autonomy and going into business for yourself, not having to answer to anybody else, setting your own hours, making as much money as you want. People look at it as like, oh my God, what if I fail? I'm like, sky's the limit. It's all perception. But the family life, you've heard of good, fast, and cheap, right? If it's not good,
Mhm.
it'd be good. If you want it good, it's not gonna be fast or cheap. If you want to be fast, it's not be good or cheap. If you want it cheap, it's not be good or fast. I always said this about business. Being a former competitive bodybuilder, I said if you wanted abs, you would have a terrible relationship and you would suffer in your job because you had to put 100%, because there's no such thing as 90% or 80% into that. If you want to be successful, you have to put 100%. So balancing it is talking to your partner and being open, saying, listen, I have responsibilities that take care of us, and you just have to recruit them to be on board with what your vision is, and say it's not always going to be like this. I'm setting us up for the future, and
Mhm.
if there's any pushback on that, maybe you're not in the right relationship. It's a team, it's give and take. There's compromise. It's tough though. It makes it very hard.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I get that a lot these days,
I'm
especially
tired.
like I
You
would
know what I mean?
say.
Like COVID.
Mm,
If anything, I'm tired. um, doing everything solo, losing my assistant, not being able to grow. So you're working harder for a little bit less. Without the incentive,
mhm.
it's tough to, create that drive. But you just keep grinding because it's not gonna be here forever. So you just keep grinding, and then whoever's left standing is gonna win.
True. What kind of growth have you seen in the last 5 years?
I saw
And then what are
exponential growth.
those? Hmm?
Go ahead. What was the second part of the question?
The second is like, what are those moments that you were maybe gonna fail, or and then what you learned from that?
I experienced exponential growth from year one to year two, and it was sustained
Mm,
year two and year three. And then year four, year five has been COVID. Um, Once you get rolling, just like a team sport where basketball, you get hot. Um, you get really good with your craft. You improve your skill set, improve your efficiency, and then it's just like go 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 go. You've got to create momentum, and you've got to be consistent. Just like I preach in my with nutrition, the secret to it is consistency. Um, keeping your name out there, keeping everybody understanding. One of the most important things I wanted everybody to know during COVID was I'm still open.
mm,
Like I'm not like I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here. Um, I don't want to use the word fail. There were some scary moments, you know, but there's been relief. When I signed this new office for growth, I had to put down a $27,000 deposit, cash
mm.
money, and that was like that was that was a big check to write. It was the biggest check I've ever written to date. Was like I bought a Prius cash. But you have to take those risks. Fortune favors the bold. So I put that money out. I secured the space. My younger brother, who's an economist, is like, "Why do you need this space?" And then I'm like, "You don't understand. Like when the A-list celebrities come in here, they're looking for not just like to do the job. They're used to experience, right? You have to
Mhm.
act the part." I bought um, really like beautiful hot top end furniture. Timothy Alton, a British designer.
Yeah.
I had a, I built my own. I had a graphic designer make my brand book, so I have my coloring, my fonts, everything followed form and function, like Frank Lloyd Wright and Louis Sullivan, Chicago architecture, where I'm from. Everything kind of. I wanted to make my mark and make my stamp. Like this is PH2. This is the brand. Excellence, innovative, cutting edge, and then service. Everything is above everything in service.
Sure. So one question for about the nutrition. So about the diets actually. Just tell us like what
What
are
the
the
diet?
differences
So
or yeah, the
there's no
keto diet or the any diet.
well, I don't subscribe to types of diets where it's a you don't just walk in, it's not paleo, it's not keto, intermittent fasting. That's trendy stuff.
Mm,
Now, whereas some things will work for some people, everybody that walks through the door, you erase every single thing else, and it becomes about the individual. So if Stacy walks in, it's Stacy's program. Remember, diet just means like what your diet is also your emotional diet, your exercise diet, not just your food dietary. It's I'm going to tell people what to eat, how much to eat, when to eat, build a structured program based on their goals. So if their goal is weight loss and improved energy, I have to test their blood. When I'm looking at the blood, it tells me like their metabolic adaptivity, like should they be in a deficit or not? Should they be in a consistent eating pattern, fasting or ketogenic or a mixture of fats and carbs? Because if you get that wrong, you're just going to go around in circles. And the problem is where everybody wants everything right now, that type of culture we live in. If you mess
mhm,
up once, they're going to walk away. So you have to treat them like the individual that they are. So I used my own app for them to track, and that's how we communicate back and forth, and for to put in the quantitative results. As far as their body composition, fat, water, muscle, inches, a metabolic rate, lipids, glucose, A1C, things like that. All markers
mhm.
for metabolic markers.
Yeah. So you're saying like the people better to not read from Google and just
There,
get
it's
any
oversaturated.
diets.
The information is
Mm,
they can, but it's they're rolling the dice. Like, oh, like just because your neighbor's diet worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
mhm,
And the thing about it is, if you try it and it's not the right, it doesn't fit, you could cause some metabolic damage where you have to fix the damage you created. I
mhm,
get all these people that are in huge deficit diets that come in here and they've created metabolic damage, and we have to get them back to baseline first, and then we can start the process over again. And it's that's where the trust comes into play because it's a dance. There's a lot of finesse
mhm.
involved. You have to know your audience. Everybody's different. I have everybody from construction workers to stay-at-home moms to celebrities to producers to salesmen. It's since it's all over the place, you have to treat everybody, forget about everybody else. It's whoever's in front of you.
Mhm. What do you think should be an entrepreneur's mindset, especially like the one that wanted to just get it started?
Um, the entrepreneurial mindset is nothing replaces hard work. I know work harder, not smarter. Vice strike that, reverse it. Work smarter, not harder. But that you're going to be putting in the time as an entrepreneur, um, but that there's no limit. You can never put a limit on anything. I learned that from a mentor, Tom Prince, when I moved to Los Angeles. He tricked me, and I put a limit on something. He goes, "See what you just did." Um, Entrepreneurs, that you can't do it alone. You have to build a team.
Hmm.
Um, even you, Ali, like knowing you now for what, 3, 4 years, 5 years, 4 years?
Yeah,
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 like
4 years.
I've seen your team grow, and that's great. That shows me there's stability, and that you guys are trusting and growing, and you're doing something right because you're afforded to grow. So yeah, build a team, be willing to work overtime, and do whatever it takes to grow.
Mhm. What was your most satisfying moment in business in the whole last 5 years? Like you were
Um,
so happy at that moment
yeah,
for the result.
well, there's been, there's the love languages, there's the terms of endearment, gift giving, affection. I've always been a person to need a little bit of attaboy. I got recognized by Coach Joe Douglas, the Santa Monica Track Club.
Hmm.
Guys like Carl Lewis. He's got over 20 gold medalists at the World Championships, Olympic. I forget if you look at his resume, he's like the best of the best in the world as far as um, international and track. He called me personally to tell me I was doing a really good job with his athletes on the Santa Monica Track Club, and they're recovering better, they're stronger. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So that kind of validation from, I mean, an elite world-class coach was like the greatest thing. And obviously equal as my, my son being born.
Yeah.
That was something else.
And well, the last question I have is, how do you define success? That can be business or whatever you wanted to, how you wanted to explain it.
That's interesting you asked that. Um, when I was in college, it was like no, I was 21, so it was like my junior year. Northern Illinois, I took a humanities course, and it was like really interesting course. I was the only guy, it was all women, and we had to write our term paper, or whatever. It was a 20-page typed story on who inspires you. I wrote mine on my grandmother, and a lot of people wrote on like Malcolm X or give me somebody else, Martin Luther King Jr. or Abraham Lincoln, like like figures. And I asked my grandmother that question, and I said, how do you define success? And it was interesting because it's all relative, right? And that rubbed off on me. And that was 20, I'm 44, 45, it's 23, 20, almost 25 years, 24 years ago. She said, I managed to stay off welfare. Now, if you say that to somebody else, like a billionaire, they might be like, what? Managed to stay off welfare. Well, she had 5 kids. One was institutionalized hydrocephalic with some birth complications. And she was a single mom. So she was managed to stay off welfare, whereas a lot of people would have buckled under pressure and, taken that government cheese. She grinded. She didn't have a high school education. She left high school at 15. So definition of success for someone like her, I managed to stay off welfare. My definition of success is how many people I've touched. The fact that I used YouTube as a platform, or BuzzFeed in particular, and it showed what I already do to people around the world. And I've worked with royalty in the Middle East and Qatar. I've worked with, A-list actors. I've had 13 billionaire clients, which is mind blowing to me. I'm still intimidated to this day. The fact that I've got a formula that works, and I'm able to reach, more people than if I just would stay hidden away, like, in a corner somewhere, like, success is that I'm able to help a lot more people, and there's more to come. Teaming up with my doctor friends here in Beverly Hills and Pasadena, that relationship is gonna allow PH2 to grow around the world.
Sure. And how people can find you or get in touch with you?
You could call the office 310-873-3705 or email info@ph2nutrition.com. I actually get everything. So it'll
Yeah,
come
we're
with,
gonna add all of them in the description as well.
yeah, or don't come by here. I've had people walk in and there's no walk in. So yeah, but yeah, no, people can reach out, just either call the office or email.
All right. Anything else you wanted to add that I might not ask?
I would tell people, go into business for yourself. Quit making money for everybody else.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for joining me, and wish you luck. And I hope that we can have like another conversation later.
Luck is where preparation.
Luck is what?
I used good luck, and I said luck is where preparation meets. I don't know. I'll text you later. All right, thanks, Holly. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Kevin.
For the rest of your podcast. I hope it's very successful and people get a lot of value out of it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.